and welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
I'm Dan.
Hi, I'm Renny.
And I'm Josh. And Dan, it's nice to have you back on for season 14.
Yep, nice to be back.
Anything new since we last had you on the panel?
Turned 30.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
That is quite something.
Yeah.
Once this comes out, I turn 32.
That's how
In
you
The Great Gatsby, when Nick realizes he's missed his birthday at the very end, he realizes, he says, I'm 30, and he would have been middle-aged. That's like 1925.
Yeah,
So
30 is like the new 20, I
Yes,
think.
yes.
I
You're
hope.
just starting.
Mhm.
30 is...
Unless I end up like my dad and my knee stopped working, but who knows.
Okay. Here's to the 30s being our livelihood renaissance. We're going to be going over a graphic text that you chose, Dan.
Yes.
We're going over Sin City.
Yeah, this is my topic.
Is The Hard Goodbye. We're going over the first book by Frank Miller. You have a discussion starter, Dan?
With The Hard Goodbye, there's something I really realize of a whole theme of it. Do you think Marv, the character, do you think that he was justified in all the crimes that he was committing and the people that he murdered?
I don't think there's much structure to Marv. I think that the crimes that he got himself into and ultimately ousted, I really think he put himself into that position because the woman he was going out with and idolized, this Goldie, was a prostitute.
Yeah, which...
So he picked up a prostitute, had a one-night stand, she got killed, probably for a reason that was outside of his control. It was probably something that she got involved in.
Well, it's a very dangerous profession.
Yes. And now he wants to seek vengeance on the people that killed her.
Yeah.
And he gets himself into this crime rampage.
Yeah.
So, as far as that way of thinking is concerned, it could have been easily avoided.
I also think like maybe it's that he had like an over fascination because he mentions that Goldie's like the only woman that has ever given him the time of day ever. Like even other prostitutes didn't like him, so like the fact that there was one who was willing to go as far as sleep with him, he felt a connection that wasn't really real, I should say, but it felt real to him because he had never experienced something like that before.
Yeah, I think that is probably true. When you look at the way that Hollywood often idolizes and idealizes prostitutes, the prostitute with the heart of gold, this is a particularly male idea, and I don't think most prostitutes have themselves an emotional relationship with most of their clients at all. It's a job.
But I think as far as this piece is concerned, after reading this, I was not intrigued or motivated to want to keep going. I didn't like the characters in this piece, I didn't like the way it was driven, and I didn't like the illustration enough to want to keep going.
I would have to disagree with you. I do like the illustration. I think it's like very noir, and that's really like why I like the whole thing. It's a crime noir. That's the whole series. And Marv is only one character. The thing is, there's different characters at the center of every other story. He may be mentioned in other stories because some of them take place before this, but he's not the main character throughout the entire series.
He was killed through the death penalty by electric chair.
Yes,
so
yeah. So
he cannot move forward unless he comes back as a supernatural being.
The stories are not chronological. The current one I'm on, Yellow Bastard, takes place before The Hard Goodbye, and it features something about Marv, about his past of how he got put on probation.
That might help improve the series, giving us a greater sense of why he acted the way he did in the first book. If this was it, I would not have been.
Yeah, I have to say,
amazed.
I think it's a generational thing, but it was too violent for me without reason or substance. I thought you liked the illustrations and I didn't like the illustrations at all, and I'm not that familiar, to be perfectly honest, with the graphic novel. I've done the 300 and Persepolis, so I'm certainly not an expert at it at all, but all I had to do was look at the first page with that jagged kind of graphic that was, to me, just very off-putting. The one that I saw, I was doing it on the computer. It's got the arm of a guy, and then it's got like a swastika in the corner. For volume, it said volume 1.
This is the first picture of mine. And then there's one of Goldie.
I didn't see a picture of Goldie at the beginning.
Yeah. Swastika, that's a completely different story. That's not from The Hard Goodbye.
I don't know. It was Miller's Sin City, and that's what came up on the computer.
It was probably a general thing.
It just said volume 1, and it gave the years for 4 or 5 books.
Yeah, I would think that it was a general image representing the entire series, but it started with Volume 1,
Yes.
which is what this is. Yeah, I don't know if I'd consider Marv to be an anti-hero. I think he's just somebody who's upset that someone he held a great sense of admiration for was killed.
Yeah.
He feels the need to take matters into his own hands because he feels that the law enforcement was responsible for the
In my opinion, he may have cared about her, but as he forgets to take his medication, he ends up having hallucinations, you know. It seems like he's got a lot of mental problems, so I think in his mind, he believed it was real, but in real life it was not. In reality, he was probably looking for an excuse to become a violent person again that he used to be. And landed him in hot water in the first place.
Yeah, I don't think he's an anti-hero. An anti-hero is like John McCain in The Die Hard, who is the person who fights on when nobody else will do so.
John McClane?
Yeah, or Rick.
You said McCain.
I'm sorry.
That was a presidential candidate.
This seems to play like an SNL Sean Connery response for Final Jeopardy, where this book is what looks like Sean Connery's answer, and as we read on in the series, we're going to get the whole picture. You see what looks like a V, and then it turns out that it says "suck it, Trebek" or something. Hopefully, for the sake of people that like this, that's what the series, that this is what it becomes. We get the sense of.
Well, yeah. Well, the hard goodbye was just meant to explain the ending of Marv's story. So he's only the main character in that one. He's not really the main character in the other ones. In some stories, he's not involved in at all. But he is one of the most noticeable characters. I think the other one he was played in the movie by Mel Gibson. So. He ends up having parts in the story as well. As I mentioned, they're all connected, but the thing is they're out of order. By reading this one first, because it is the first volume, people might not get the whole sense of everything. But the thing is, that's how the story's supposed to be. It's supposed to start at the end, and then you get back to the beginning.
You mean it goes backwards, or they hop around?
They hop around because, as I mentioned, Volume 4, The Yellow Bastard basically takes place before The Hard Goodbye. It kind of explains, like, you know, a little bit about Marv beforehand. Like, just... They give mentions to like his backstory in Volume 1. We don't truly get his full backstory, I should say. But Yellow Bastard kind of gives you a little bit more information about his past before then. And even though he's not the main character, he does get involved with the Yellow Bastard.
Even if he's hallucinating throughout this piece, I get that sense that Marv still has a sense of reason, because he can come up with the conclusion that he will not hurt or kill any women.
We also know that he's not like Kevin. You know, Kevin was completely deranged. He never spoke, but the thing is, you know, it's pretty clear that he was not right. We can at least justify that Marv killing that guy was okay.
Does this have any relation to the theater of the absurd? Or, like Titus Andronicus, that the action is so extreme it's not supposed to be in any way realistic?
I don't know if I would. I think that it strays toward the Titus Andronicus, where it's getting at the life of crime. I would say this is better than Titus Andronicus, because I think that this at least has a sense of direction. Titus Andronicus was just looking to see how many people they can kill.
They could bump off and how much blood they
Yeah, you ever mentioned Titus, the thing is Josh can tell you a whole lot of why he does not like it.
You thought the Teletubbies is better than Titus Andronicus.
Do we have any final thoughts?
So I know you didn't like the first volume. Anyone who has read the first volume, including you, Josh, I would suggest try the second one. The story does get better as it goes on. The first is the worst, and then it gets better. So
I would say that you have to be more in tune with the graphic novel, which younger people are. I
yeah,
think.
if you're not into the black and white style that Frank Miller has drawn in, then the thing is you might not enjoy it, which I could understand. The thing is you probably didn't like this art style.
No, I didn't like the
art. And the thing is, the entire series is black and white because it's supposed to represent like old noir films.
It's not necessarily the black and white either, because
it's just jagged.
Some of my favorite, Mouse and Persepolis, don't necessarily
Lady of the Lake.
use color.
Yeah.
But with this, it just the imagery itself, the way that it's being used, it doesn't say enough.
Like as I said, it does like, get better. Like there's some color thrown into the other ones. Like the yellow guy, I mentioned it. He's drawn as yellow. And then later on, like there's splashes of red to like symbolize blood and other things like that.
You know how they say a painted picture's worth 1,000 words? This one seems to be worth about 250.
Well, I don't know if it's black and white that does it. I just think it is the quality, and I'm sure it's meant to be. It's violent, and so the black and white has a quality of violence to it. It's very jagged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yes,
pretty sure
I'm
the
sure
things that
that's meant. I'm sure
if
it's
you
meant
show
to
the
be that way.
decapitation scene like
Yeah.
with like full on detail, people might be a little turned off by it.
And do you feel any other character sticks out to you aside from Marv in this piece?
Probably his parole officer, despite the fact that she ended up dying before the end of it though. But she kind of stood out as like the only person who was willing to give Marv like the benefit of the doubt for his actions.
I think you get a sense of her, but then she just fades off the grid as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I always remember her as a character. Even when I think of Marv's story, I always remember her. And the thing is, I also remember Kevin, too, despite, him being a deranged killer. But those are, like, the only three I think I remember very well.
How would we rate this? 0 to 5 stars, half stars permitted, Dan?
I would say 3. For the entire series of Sin City, this one is the start of it. And I know a lot of people might not like it. I don't really like it that much, but upon reading it multiple times, I've come to appreciate it for what it is, due to the fact that I know how the other stories go and what it explains about this. If I hadn't read it before, I'd probably give it a 2, but for right now, my rating is 3.
Well, what are you ready?
I have to say that I think I'm not strong enough with the genre to really give a good rating for it. I would think that maybe a younger person who really likes the graphic novel style would be very interested in it.
I rate these based off of my experience. I'm going to give this a 2.5 because I think that there's a sense of direction. Like, even if Marv is probably the only one that we really get a general sense of, the other characters, I think that they're filled with air, but at the same time, I think they do a slight enough to move the plot. I wouldn't suggest the book based off of its own product, but it's worth it for the people that it serves, but not for me, and I don't think it would be for someone that's getting into graphic texts.
Oh yeah, it's a very hard read, and if you're not familiar with Frank Miller's work, then people might not get to it.
I think that as it progressed, he really built on the Sin City franchise.
Yeah.
This here was just where it all began. It was kind of like the whole reason for Star Wars starting with the 4th piece. We now know it as A New Hope. Back then it was just Star Wars. But otherwise, if you are interested in reading Sin City, The Hard Goodbye, here is my copy.
And if you want to read the entire series, here's my copy.
Alrighty then. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you check out some more videos from our channel. Be sure to join us next time for another discussion here on Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.
Hi, I'm Dan from Literary Gladiators. Join us next time while we discuss Sphere by Michael Crichton. It's a great sci-fi novel. I happen to enjoy it, and I've read it before, and we hope that you enjoy it too. Until next time, keep reading.